Welcome to episode 128, Toddlers, Tantrum, and Turn Taking. Today, we're tackling one of the trickiest balancing acts in the hobby, bringing your young kids, those wild, wonderful player threes, to board game conventions. You know, for parents, it can feel like a strategic puzzle, more complex than a day of Twilight Imperium. Do you split your time chasing that open seat at the hot new game demo or chasing your toddlers? Between snack runs, meltdowns, and missed meetups with friends, many moms and dads find themselves torn between parenting and play. In this episode, we're going to dive into the challenges, the compromises, and the creative solutions that parents face as they try to share their love of gaming without losing their minds or their badges. From juggling demo tables and diaper changes, we're going to unpack the challenges. We're going to share the heartfelt, hilarious, and helpful stories of balance for the passion of gaming with the needs of their children. Whether you're a seasoned con goer or this is going to be your first trip to a convention this summer, this episode is for you. In order to help me talk about this, I have invited Suzy from Games with Beanie to talk about this very thing. Suzy, how are you?
I'm fine. I am currently melting in the English heat.
Yes.
Which is bringing on a lot more tantrums for toddlers.
Oh, no. Yep. So I want to thank you for joining me for this conversation. I think it's one that's worth really talking about and trying to articulate in more detail. I see families, particularly, I just got back from Origins. I know you just got back from UKG a few weeks before that. I saw a lot of families at Origins. I saw lots of different kids in various states of emotion. I guess that's a polite way to put that. Let me start with this question for you. I believe a lot of people would ask this. A lot of people outside of our hobby would certainly ask this question. Maybe even people without kids would be like, why would you bring your kids to a board game convention knowing that you're going to have to deal with all this?
Question, because there are kids and we love them and we want to spend time with them and we want them to be involved in our hobby. I can't speak for every family.
Right.
For us, I don't know, do you have the phrase, it takes a village?
Yes.
So we have this thing here that a lot of us, we don't live quite close to our parents, so we don't have the village that helps us raise those children. So sometimes we have absolutely no choice but to take our kids along these things. And so sometimes it's a big compromise. We have to take them, therefore we take them. And other times it's because we want to take them. I mean, the UKG, we wanted to take the kids. We really wanted them. And Beanie was so excited from last year. He had loads of fun last year, and he was so excited to go this year. He kept asking, is it time for UKG? Is it time for UKG? Can we go yet? We took them to Alton Towers beforehand, and he spent the entire time at Alton Towers going, are we going to UKG yet? So it's a balancing act on that one. It's either, sometimes it's because you have to take them, or you don't go at all, and sometimes it's because you want to take them. I know plenty of people that went for the full weekend of UKG, and they would go maybe days 1 and 2 by themselves, and then on the third day bring their kids. Sometimes they just did one day with the kids. Some like us and had the kids there the entire time. I saw some fantastic moms that were wearing their babies the entire time round, and that was brilliant. And obviously this year we had 2 walking children. Last year we had one in a pushchair. This year they were both walking, so that presented its own challenges in that one. And I even tried to do meetings this year, which was a whole other thing. I would not necessarily recommend doing that when you've got kids in tow. I think next year I will definitely stick with press night will be for me, and the rest of it will be for family. But I wouldn't know that unless I tried that this time.
Exactly. So, how about this question? I'm sure a lot of parents think about this. So at what age do you decide, okay, we're going to bring them to the convention, right? Because I know there seems to be like, when they're toddlers or younger, you could just swaddle them on your chest, like you said, and just go. But then there's like a certain age, like, I don't know if y'all have this saying here, but we have is like the terrible twos when the kids are, okay.
DJ is 2 and he will tell you how. He is exercising the terrible twos in a way that I have never experienced before. I used to think that Beanie was my difficult child. I have been proven wrong.
Oh,
I've been proven wrong.
okay.
But we are definitely in the terrible twos. Um,
So, how old was Beanie when you decided to bring him with you to
so
UKG for the
Beanie would
first
have
time?
been, I wish I remember this the other day. I want to say he would have been about 4 going on 5 for his
Okay.
first UKG.
So he's
Prior to
walking at
that,
this point, right?
he'd actually been to the NEC prior to that for a kid
Oh,
metropolis convention, but and that was geared at kids. That was full
right.
on everything there was geared towards kids. So that doesn't. I mean, it counts as convention, but it wasn't
It
UKG.
does.
Where UKG, obviously, they say they're geared toward family, and they do try. They have a lot of stuff there for kids. Like they've got the treasure hunt, they've got kid stands, they've got big size life size interactive exhibits and stuff like that. There is, and obviously they've got the family zone. They are geared towards a family. It's just finding that in amidst
Right.
all the shopping. But yeah, no, I think Beanie was about 4 or 5 when we first took him, and obviously DJ would have been. So he didn't go the first year he was born. He would have been one going on 2 for his first convention. But if DJ was my only kid, he wouldn't have gone necessarily. For me, I don't think I would have necessarily taken him at that age. But because obviously we had Beanie and because we were already established going, we went.
Right.
So
You mentioned last year you had Beanie. Beanie was walking, but DJ was still in a
yeah,
stroller, right? So what was that like? What was it like to have a child in a stroller that you're pushing around in the convention? And were people respectful or at least mindful of you and your child?
I would say yes. People were definitely. No one was miffed at you for like get
Okay.
miffed. British words, please. No one got annoyed at us for the pushchair being there or anything like that. Everyone was very respectful of that. But last year, you've heard a lot of talk about UKG for this one. Last year, the convention aisles were really, really tiny,
Okay.
and a lot of people struggled with that. There were wheelchair users that struggled with it as well. It was not
Oh,
conducive to walking around. This year, if we'd have had the stroller this year, it would have been. We could have swung it around in a loop. The
wow.
aisles were much wider this year. So any parents that, because you also see parents with like wheelbarrow, like the garden truck carts that you put thing in. You see kids
Wagons?
sat in the wagons. Yes, you see them in the wagons and stuff like that. Everyone's got a creative solution to it. But yeah, it was. I mean, I found last year when it was tight, you kind of use that stroller as a weapon.
Right.
You're like, this
Right.
is how I get through things. I mean, we did have at one point last year that DJ decided he'd had enough of being in the stroller. He did not want to be in that anymore. He wanted to be out and about moving, so we had the baby reins on him, which was we had it dragon themed as well to match the UKG aesthetic. But
Nice.
Beanie got fed up. He's like, I don't want to walk anymore. I was like, do you know what? You're under the weight limit. You can get in the pushchair. And no one batted an eyelid at that either. No, everyone was like, yeah, I'd do it too if I could. So
Does
it's
the NEC have are there restrictions on carts, wagons, sizes, and things of that nature? Gen Con does. Gen Con has restrictions on what you can and cannot pull. Like you get people who have luggage, wheeled luggage, they can't drag that with them. You can't bring wagons, but you can bring a legitimate stroller designed for a child. Like that is acceptable. But they've limited that because in the past, people have taken advantage. And I was wondering if the NEC had
I did not
restrictions
see
like that
any
too.
restrictions
No?
on it,
Okay.
but also we didn't look for them because we didn't need them.
Right.
But I
Right.
do know,
That's,
obviously, there were people
yep.
that took younger children that looked for. I mean, I don't know as well how geared Origin is to the facilities. There was a couple of moms I spoke to that also they needed to be able to breastfeed in private, or want to breastfeed in private as well, because it's
Right.
not. It's not. And they've said there was nowhere for them to do that. That wasn't the facility that was capable for them. There are changing rooms, obviously, but the toilets at any convention
Yep.
it's a toilet at a convention, especially
Right.
if you're a woman. You know how long the women's queue is at any event. But yeah, the facilities are there. They're just for being able to have children there.
Right.
And I don't think there's any restrictions on it. There's no restrictions on the age of bringing a child as well. Obviously, there's a restriction on the age of a child ticket.
Right.
For our kids, I believe it's up to age 11. We don't pay for them to go to these conventions.
Okay.
So that's quite helpful. Because
That's
obviously then
very
you
helpful.
haven't paid for money from it.
Right. That's seriously helpful, right?
It is. It does help getting kids into a hobby like that, because obviously you're not spending a fortune on a ticket for them to turn around and go, I'm bored, I don't like this. So the fact that you don't have to necessarily pay for them to go is a godsend. And then obviously when they're a bit older, it's a choice then, isn't it? So it's nice. And then obviously with UKGs, where you get the nice little kids tickets that's designed by the kids as well. Beanie had a go at it this year, but obviously his ticket wasn't chosen.
Right.
But no, it's nice, and it's another little collector's item for them.
So what is what's the one most valuable piece of advice that you've learned that you find yourself sharing with other parents who are either going to a convention or thinking about it with their kids?
Do you know, I think that advice changes every year, because
Really?
as your child grows, the ultimate advice you give to any parent, I think you can give to any parent for any situation you put them in, is nobody knows your child better than you. You know their limits, or you have a rough gauge of their limits. You know what you can all handle, you know what they're into, and you just have to take it one step at a time. Especially, like, there's a lot of people within this hobby who obviously are neurodivergent. It's just the way it is.
It is.
And that obviously comes with its own things. We have a potential that one of our kids may have ADHD. We're not sure. We haven't gone down that route yet. But that brings its own challenges to it as well, because you have to think about overstimulation and stuff like that. So it's know your child, know their limits, and prepare for that. Like, we took ear defenders with us in case it got too loud. We never needed them. But we took them with us. We had multiple snacks and bottles of water, because we know that the little one will say he's hungry every 2 seconds. It's his one word that he knows. He goes, hungry, hungry.
There you go.
So we know that. It's prepping for you and your kids, and knowing what you will, and also knowing you as a parent, what your limits are. At what point you're willing to turn and go, nope, fine, we're going back to the hotel. Let's step out the hall. Because ultimately, as a parent, sometimes we push through because we're like, can we just do this one more thing, and you're burning your kids' energy. They're going to be on the floor, dragged along by their ankles, because they don't want to do it anymore, and they will be louder and stronger than you on that one. And obviously, as a parent, you don't want to be that parent that blows up in front of everyone, so you have to get down on your level and be like, come on, let's go, gritted teeth. And it's ultimately my biggest advice, yes, like I said to parents, is your kid and work with what you know on that one. And accept the fact that you are not going to see everything. That's a big thing for us. We look back at the UKG footage, and we know there is so much that we did not see. There is a lot that we missed, and we have that. Even if we didn't have the kids, I went for a whole weekend once without Brad or the kids, and I missed so much as well, because it's just such a big event, and you're never going to see all of it.
So, you mentioned about this year, you scheduled meetings, right? So I'm assuming you went to UKGE, not just as yourself, part of a family, but as a content creator, trying to do things, right?
As an influencer.
Yes, as an influencer. So what would you say? Because I know a lot of my listeners are content creators. Most of them were with us at Origins, did not bring their kids, but they've been to conventions where they brought kids. What was the biggest thing you learned about going to a gaming convention, bringing your kids with you, and trying to schedule meetings as a content creator?
That it's not for me.
Okay.
I worked that one out this year, that it's not for me to do. Me doing meetings and trying to do that's not something that, more as a content creator, I realize that is not something that I'm necessarily interested in. I do enjoy meeting people and stuff like that, but I think I had a meeting with a developer that basically they just wanted to show me where everything of theirs was in the hall, and I could have done that myself. So what I found for me is that I personally enjoyed. I liked doing press night, where all the people that wanted to promote their games were in a dedicated space, and I could just go up and down the aisles and I could talk to them. And because I did that this year without the kids and without Brad, I could focus on it. I could give my attention to it. So Brad took the kids back to the hotel, got the little one to sleep, and they just relaxed and they enjoyed a peaceful evening while I went and worked. Last year, Beanie did press night with me. And I do wish he'd done it with me this year as well. I don't think he'd have enjoyed it as much this year. I don't know why. There's a vibe for it, but I enjoyed doing it with him the previous year, because obviously it was fun to see the kind of questions he'd ask, the kind of enthusiasm he had for games. But because we'd done Alton Towers previously this year, he was too tired when we got there, and I was like, yeah, it's fine, you go back to the room and I'll do press night by myself this
Sure.
time. And it works. But ultimately I think I would like to do it with him again at some point. But I think if we do it next year, I would probably I would focus on all my content creation parts being press night in terms of getting information on games, and then the actual
Right.
convention, I would just enjoy it as a family. Because whenever I apply for my press pass for UKG, I always, every year, I say I promote it as a family event. That's what they want it to be. They want it to be a family event. I go and I showcase the bits that I can do with my family, of what my kids enjoy, of what there is for the kids to do there. And even, like I said, even that, I miss half it. Like, we didn't get to go in the family zone this year because when we got there on the first day, it was just jam packed. And then the second day, unfortunately, my kids they'd had enough already. It was such a busy thing. They'd had enough. So we did a quick in and out the halls on Saturday, and called it. We said that we'd already done like Thursday nights, Friday day, and Saturday. So we'd got enough of the convention out of it. But we knew with our kids, and we knew with us as well, that we'd all reached our limit. So
Right.
yeah.
I think I've heard you talk about this. I've actually, it's interesting. I've heard other friends that you and I have in common talk about how you and Brad tackle this together. Y'all do something very creative that I think some of our content creator and just gaming friends in the United States could take a lesson from. You and Brad, like, kind of, you split up your parental duties at a convention, right? So that you could go and play games or do whatever late in the evening, and Brad's got the kids, and then the next night y'all switch off. Y'all
Yes.
do that, right? That
Yep.
that is brilliant. So I know this is a stupid question, or it's going to sound like one, but how did you come about that? Like, how does that work? Because both of you are content creators in your own independent
In
rights.
very independent ways, yes, we have our own style.
So you're trying to manage that. Like, yeah, tell me more.
So ultimately, when we come down to prime for the press pass, that is me. I'm the
Okay.
press pass. He's the +1 on it.
Oh.
But he's a +1 as my shelf life.
Okay.
So when it comes to doing the press night, that automatically becomes my night. He allocate that. That's me. I do that. That's the agreement on there. So he has that night with the kids. After press night, a lot of people will sit down and game anyway. So I use that as my night to game with people, chat to people, because and mostly it's a big conversation at that point. And I'm quite happy just to sit and chat and look at other people playing games and see what everyone's come up with. And then the next night, it's Brad's turn. So he's lucky. So he just gets to go and actually just game. He doesn't have to do any press or anything like that. He just gets to go find a hall, find some people, and sit down and game. So he might stay out for a bit longer as well. Also, he's more used to staying up later than I am. I very much do prefer to be in bed asleep. So
Sure, absolutely.
But yeah, it just came about for the fact that I think we tried it the first year to all stay there in the hall, and we realized that it just didn't work. That the little one, he was never going to stay up late for it, and even if he did, one of us would have to be stood there pushing him in a stroller the first year, and it didn't work for us, because also as a parent, you're tired. You're tired from the kids and stuff. So we found it easier to balance it out that way. Some nights, well, Beanie, because he's older now, will stay up and he'll sit with the other kids that have stayed with their parents, and sometimes they play games, sometimes they just play on the switches, sometimes they just run around the tables. But yeah, no, Brad and I have found the divide and conquer technique really does work for us. Sometimes it backfires on us because especially if the kids are in a particular parental mood, right? They're like, I just want mummy, or I just want daddy.
Oh, sure.
Sometimes it can backfire. Like, it'll be, oh, you'll stay up late tonight with daddy, and it's like, no, I want to stay in the hotel room with you, mummy. And I'm like, oh,
right.
But yeah, but it does work out for us, and it's nice to have that individual time. It's the only thing that sucks is that we would like to be able to game together. That's the only thing that we do get to miss out on, is because, and that's unfortunate. But sometimes it's nice because obviously he'll learn a new game and go, oh, you want to try this one? And I'll learn a new game, try this one. And even if we were in the same hall as each other, we might not necessarily want to play the same game anyway. So we try.
That's interesting. So you guys tried doing it as a whole family, and then we're like, okay, we're going to have to break this apart.
But let's think, in a couple of years that might change. Beanie might not want a game anymore, because I've noticed that with some of the families that we've got, and as the kids have got older, they lose interest for a bit while they get other interests, and then I've noticed they do come back as they get older. We might find that DJ absolutely hates board games. At the moment, he seems to really love them and want to play them. He can't,
Sure.
but he wants to.
Right.
But yeah, we might find that they might not want to do it at all, or we might find that they really love it and things will change. But at the moment, it's a divide and conquer situation.
Yep. So what if you've got some gaming friends and they've got a newborn and they regularly go to UKG and they're thinking about not going, because this happens a lot here in the US. We see this a lot. Parents just kind of they go off the grid for 3 or 4 years until their kids are
Mm.
at a certain age. I mean, do you do you have advice for them like, no, you could still go and do, or I mean, how would you say, what would you say to
Of
that?
course, they can still go, but it ultimately comes down to what you're comfortable with. For
Sure.
us, with DJ, we were second time parents, so we got into board gaming when Beanie was a baby, as a way to do something when the baby was asleep because we couldn't go out.
Right.
So that's our board gaming life grew up alongside him. But for DJ, he's just been thrown in the deep end with it. So it's basically, and I was really scared when we found out we were pregnant with him. I was terrified that we were going to lose this lovely community that we'd become part of. I was like, oh, we're never going to see any of them again. We're going to fall off the face of the earth. The board games are never going to happen. That didn't. We were very, very fortunate that was not the case. If
Right.
anything, the board game collection got bigger. The friends that we became more numerous. We found better friends through it as well. And yeah, everyone for us has been really, really accommodating. Because I mean, we had one of our friend meetups last year. We went to do that in the height of the summer holidays, and I had a full-on meltdown. I couldn't handle it. It was the height of the summer holidays for us. The kids had driven me to the last straw, and I ended up going, no, I've called it quits. I've got to go. But a month later, I went to another one. But I'd already said to people, I don't know if I can handle this. But a bunch of the women there messaged me and said, look, do what you can. We want to see you. Even if you only get to play one game with us and have to spend the entire time after that walking around with the baby. And then they were really, really helpful. And we ended up, DJ had a great time at that. We had to put a sign on him saying, please stop feeding me watermelon, because he literally would go up to everyone and smile and get things. He sits at tables when people are playing Scythe and stuff like that. But there are going to be times where you can't do it. That's the thing. And there's no two ways about it. There are times where you just can't do it. Either you don't have someone to take care of the kid, or they're ill, or something like that. It doesn't mean that you have to stop the hobby. It just means that, I suppose, like any good, there's like D&D groups, their scheduling never aligns, does it? They're famous for it. And that's
Never.
the same parenting and gaming, is sometimes it's not going to work out. Sometimes you are going to have to cancel events and change your mind and not go. It's just, but that's the thing. I don't think it means that you have to erase the hobby from your life. It just means you have to rearrange. For instance, Brad and I, we our top. I mean, if you're on YouTube and you can see it, our top shelves are mostly small box games, and they are our most played games now. The ones down below are the heavier games.
Right.
We don't play those as much because we just don't have time. But we found love with small box games, and that's the thing. We don't go to as many conventions as I'd like. I'd like to go to. I'd love to try AirCon. I'd love to try HandyCon, even ZasuCon. But we don't do those yet. But we're going to try another one this year, actually. We're going to Norfolk Gaming Convention. It's just a day event.
Oh, that's exciting.
The advantage to that is that my mother-in-law lives down the road from it.
So yeah.
Beforehand, we may even ditch the kids with her if we can. But we're trying something new with the kids on that one. So
right.
Yeah. I don't need to give up the hobby.
So aside from you and Brad kind of splitting up who's watching the kids per night during UKG, are there any other creative solutions to managing both parenting and gaming at conventions that you and Brad have come up with that have been helpful that you can know?
The thing is, there probably are, but you come up with them as when you
in
do
the
them.
moment.
As thing, like, I learn from other parents as well. I learn from other gamers and how they handle their kids, and I'm very lucky. Like I said, I don't have the village. My mother passed away about 13, 14 years ago now, so I didn't have that mum influence. But I've been so lucky in that the women whom I've met either through mom groups or through gaming. They have been so inspirational in helping me manage how to have this balance, how
Right.
to game with children, how to manage my temper with the kids,
Hmm.
and how to just deal with that. And that's just, I think every year I learn something a little bit new, and I learn a new way to cope with it, and a new way to handle situations, a new strategy. And I think that's the creativity. That thing is just, we try not to compare ourselves to others, but there's no reason to not be
Sure.
inspired by others.
Right.
That's the thing. There's no reason to go, oh, they can take their kids to this. Why can't I do it? They can, because they can. They've found a way to do it. And that doesn't mean that they're better than you. It doesn't mean that they've got it easier than you. It just means they found a way. And a lot of parents, ask. I mean, like you're doing now, you're asking. And I honestly can't tell you what our secret is to it. If I knew there was a magic formula to it, I would write an entire blog post on it. But that's ultimately, like, I've spoken to other people and said, oh, I've tried this and I've tried that. And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. Like, the ear defenders, you can obviously get loops. So some kids don't want big ones. So you try smaller things. Some people have busy bags full of lots of different activities to keep their kids entertained. Some of them have kids that like Beanie and like Tabletop Princess, and other, even get into games as kids. That
Yeah.
kids that actually want to be content creators themselves, that want to go along and try it and have a go, and they want to interview things. And it's just, that's the thing. It's just working with your family, I think.
Right.
I wish I could turn around and say, this is the secret. Here is the answer. But even that's the thing. I thought I had the answer this year. I honestly thought that I knew exactly what I was going to do. I knew exactly how we're handling it. I was like, we're going to go to the family gaming zone. We're going to do this. And it's going to be fine. None of that happened.
And it
And the
didn't work.
kids, they struggled this year for some reason. They just struggled.
Mm.
But we recognized quite quickly that they were struggling and decided,
Right.
well, we'd already planned for the eventuality that we don't have to stay for the whole weekend. So we chose to cut it short. We decided that we'd seen enough. I said to Brad, I want to go pop into the hall really quickly Saturday morning just to do a few quick things without anybody. And Beanie goes, oh, actually, I would like to come with you. And so he did. So it was just me and him. And with just the two of us, we got through things very quickly. And it was doable. And then Brad and DJ met us later on. And we ended up staying in the hall for a little bit longer than we intended because
Mm.
it was calmer. We were
Right.
calmer. And the kids managed to find some things to enjoy. So the other downside was the fact that literally we were 2 minutes from the doors opening and Beanie goes, I need the loo. And I was
Of course.
like, no, we're not leaving this line. I was like, when we get in there, I was like, right, I know where the toilets are. We're going to run straight to the toilet. And then we're running straight to this vendor. Because obviously everyone guns for the big games and the big
Right.
things. So,
Oh yeah. So what about you and I talked a little bit before this episode. We talked about safety, right? And child safety. I
mhm.
know a lot of content creators who have kids who are under 5, who refer to their children as player 3 or something other than.
No names.
But I want to talk about so the safety of your kids. So what would you say? So okay, I don't have any kids, so just I'm a great example of this. What is the best way for me or anyone else to interact with your children if they're meeting them for the first time in that gaming, or if you've got like a vendor and they've got like little promos or things, like, you know what I mean? Because there's like essentially everyone in the convention is a stranger.
Mm.
You want to protect your kids. So what do you say to someone when they're interacting with your children for the first time? And what do you tell your kids before going into this environment?
No, that's a great question, actually. So ultimately, well, I'll tackle part 2 first. So
Okay.
before we go into conventions, obviously Beanie understands, DJ doesn't. DJ, it's kind of like we all kind of say to each other, right, we all have to keep, all three of us have to keep an eye on DJ. We have to make sure that he's safe. Beanie,
Right.
being old enough now, he's like, you are parent point 3 now. And he is very, very protective of his little brother. Absolutely, like almost too protective of his little brother. He's a first time parent. It's delicious. But we try very hard to keep DJ. One of the things that we've had to say to Beanie is, if DJ starts to bolt, let us go for him. Because if his brother tries to chase after him, DJ thinks it's a game. and he runs
Yeah.
off even faster. Obviously, he thinks it's a game with us too, but it's easier for we're taller, we're longer, we can get to him
Right.
faster.
Right.
Thankfully, he didn't bolt at all. I think the sheer forms of people, he was very much like, I want to be up, hold me, don't let me go. So that was fine. What we do whenever we take Beanie to a big event, we show him, or we try and introduce him to security or staff members and show him what he's looking for. So with UKG, obviously everyone's got the badges, so we can say to him, you're looking for someone that's got this badge, or you need to, there's a child safety point, I think, at UKG, which we didn't show this year, but we should have. So you can say to kids, go there. That's, if you can, try, look for this. We try and show him where the exits are, where the safe points are.
Right.
Obviously at the conventions, he knows who some of our friends are. He knows some of them, those are safe faces. We also have started, he has a shoulder bag purse thing as a creeper, a Minecraft creeper. And we wrote our phone numbers on the back of that. And we say to him, if you ever get lost, and actually what I always say to him, I always tell him to look for another mummy. This was a piece of advice that someone gave me to tell their kids, was look for another mum, because another mum, she'll have children, she's safe. A mummy is safe. I mean, we know that's not necessarily always true, but generally as a good rule of thumb, if you see a mummy who has other children, go up to her and say, I've lost my mummy. She will help you. So that's what we try with Beanie. We try and say to him, just look for the staff members. Like when we're at theme parks, stuff like this, we show them what costumes and stuff they're wearing. Look for those. Look for a grown-up that you think is trustworthy, or look for another mummy. We've also taught him very much the fact, if you don't feel safe, you run in the other direction.
Right.
You bolt. He knows he can kick and scratch and scream if he needs to, if he's in danger. But yeah, you just have to trying to keep kids safe in this modern day and age is probably the most paranoid thing any mum this day and age can experience. It is so hard because there is danger around every corner. And I mean, that danger's always been there. It's just we are very aware of it now.
Right.
So that's what we try with him. We will instill that fear into DJ when he's older. But with other people interacting with our kids, what we found is that people, they treat them like grown-ups, which is nice.
Right.
I don't feel anyone's ever spoken down to them and gone, oh, aren't you cute little thing? I mean, they do with the baby, obviously. They do, because he's a baby and he's adorable. He's got the big eyes. But with Beanie, they've always been very kind of, they treat him like another gamer. They ask him what he's interested in. They talk directly to him, which is nice. Other adults, other gamers, like our friends, they don't necessarily talk to the kids kind of thing straight away, but they will acknowledge them. If they've got kids of their own, they'll go hi, they ask them. A lot of them will say, oh, have you seen this? Have you enjoyed this? Are you enjoying this? And they're generally quite nice. Sometimes he's not interested. And sometimes if you're really unfortunate, if you the wrong word, and Beanie will talk your ear off about Minecraft until the cows come home. So you have to be careful on that one. But
he will also climb on you as if you are a piece of gym equipment.
Yes, which is something
I know. I've experienced that.
The thing is, that's generally when he feels safe around someone. He doesn't. It's one of the possible neurospicy parts. That he doesn't necessarily recognize boundaries. He's getting a lot better as he's getting older.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, when he was young, I mean, little kids tend not to recognize boundaries too much sometimes either. DJ, I've watched DJ cuddle a random person by accident. They look on his face when he realizes it's not mummy. He's like, oh no. But yeah, I think if you're talking to kids at conventions, obviously, if you're just randomly talking to a kid at a convention that you have and you don't know their parents, you don't know them, that's kind of, that to me is a bit off. But obviously, if you're interacting with us as a whole family, then yeah, you can talk to the kids. They're not, I pray they don't bite you. Right. I'm pretty sure they shouldn't bite you. I can't speak for DJ at the moment if he's teething. But no, I think it's nice that people don't ignore the kids. They do talk to them. They do acknowledge them. I had one lovely exhibitor who she messaged me prior to press night saying, oh, are you coming? I've got some games for Beanie. And then when I got there, she had some teddies for them as well. And I loved that. That was really nice of her. And that's really nice. There was another game that I didn't get to see them, but they were like, oh yeah, if you bring the kids, we've got a Santa Claus naughty or nice thing they can do. And I was like, oh, that would have been good to do with them. So people do gear them towards kids, and things there that people say, "Oh no, this is just for the kids," and you're like, "Oh, I want that."
Oh,
So
yeah. So what about how often, not just at UKGE, because I know there's an AirCon and MollyCon and HandyCon and all the little gamer meetups that y'all do that I'm so jealous of,
mm,
but our country is too big and we just live too far away from one another. Um, so I know sometimes y'all rent these halls and there's usually like a playground out front
yeah,
for the kids. Like, I mean, it seems like y'all got a really good community of gamers who have children who are supportive of one another and whose kids get opportunities to play together, maybe not necessarily at the table with a game, but in some other form of play.
yeah, they do that, which is
Yeah,
that's always been very nice. I always get very sad at those events when someone says, "Oh no, I'm not. We can't come because of the kids," or oh, like they're like, "Oh, I've got the kids that weekend. We're not going to come." It's like, no, bring the kids, bring the kids. It'll be fine. But not everyone wants to. That's the
right.
ultimate problem. It's not everyone wants their kids there. We had that with our wedding. We said kids were invited, but my friend was like, she goes, "No, I'm having a day away from my kids," and that's fine. If you're able to have someone look after your children for the day, then yeah, go for it. By all means, enjoy not having someone pulling at your arm every few seconds, going, "I'm hungry, come with me, come do this," or as
Right.
we've experienced with our kids, where they suddenly decide there's a stage in the corner and they want to put on a show, and we're like, I mean, we had a great one of the last meetups we did. We were playing Blood on the Clock Tower, and all the kids thought it was hilarious when all the adults had their eyes closed. And so, like, DJ was so tiny, he was going around like following Craig around, tapping everyone's hands. So people had to be like, "Is that Craig or is that the baby? Do I open my eyes or not?"
Right.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But ultimately, like, I mean, me and Mrs. Getting Games, we've both said this, that we like having our kids around. Yeah, they can be
Absolutely.
stressful. It can be, but we do love our kids and we want them there. And it's nice that our kids get along with each other. Obviously, they don't always. Sometimes there's the ultimate, so and so has done this, and it's just, oh.
Hmm.
But ultimately, it's nice that the kids do get along, especially like. So it's nice that when we get to have the weekend, we can meet up with gamer friends because then he gets to interact with other children at the weekend that they have something in common with. And that's always a nice thing, and it's nice to have those friendships. I mean, they might one day never talk to each other again, but it's nice that they've had those friendships now. I mean,
Sure.
I'm sure I've seen a couple of parents try to marry off their kids. I know, I know of two friends
Yeah.
where they've got one's got a boy, one's got a girl, and they're like, "Oh, we could merge our families, we could create a
Uh-huh.
union, combine our board game collections as one." But yeah,
Right. What do you look for if you were going to? I mean, I guess this is true of any event, but obviously we're limited to gaming events here. But what are you looking for from a gaming event that is going to alert you as a parent that this particular convention is making the effort to be safe and conducive for children? Or maybe I don't want to take my kids to this because I don't know, this one looks sketchy. Like, are there things you look for are there buzzwords, are there taglines, anything that kind of alert you to know this is safe to take my kids to?
I mean, most of them is the word family is always a great buzzword, obviously, because
Yeah.
it says that everyone there is welcome. Um, the phrase "kids go free" is always a great one. Love that phrase. That's
Okay.
doesn't always mean that it's kids appropriate, but it does mean that you
Right.
don't pay for them, which is always nice. I think if there's any major buzzwords, usually it's when they market kids events and these things.
Hmm.
If they say this event is for children, like UKG, obviously they market their kids zone. They emphasize that in their when they talk about their event, they emphasize that. I don't really see that kind of thing when I've been looking at MCM and Comic Con, but at the same point, that is also very obviously kids are going to enjoy that,
Sure.
and they will have a kids zone stuff like that. But I don't necessarily see it straight away. But I do know that one of our friends does story time, those things, so I know that that's a kid friendly event. So you just kind of look when you're looking at conventions. I tend to just look on the website, and I do look specifically for the kids stuff. Is there a kids zone? Are kids welcome? I mean, it's been a very long time since I've looked at anything that's adult only. Um,
Right. Right.
so
That's
yeah,
fair. That is fair. That's a
that is
fair
fair.
point.
One day, maybe.
What about, okay, so I'm going to use Essen because it's closer, right?
Mm,
So let's say you were going to go to Essen Spiel and you could not accommodate childcare because I realize it's an 8-hour drive or whatever flight or whatever, so you're going to go to Essen, but you have to take one or both of the kids with you. Like, if in that situation, would you just be like, I don't think Essen's the right thing for the family, or would you do it? Like that's kind of
No.
what I'm getting at, No.
I mean, we've looked at Essen and we have agreed that Essen. Brad said to me last year, he's like, if you want to go and you can find someone to go with, you can go, but you're
Right.
going on your own.
Okay.
And I was like, no, I'd left it too late, and I wasn't ready to be that far away from my family.
Okay.
I think, I mean, the first time I went to UKG by myself, I felt horrible pangs of missing them and guilt for moments that I didn't miss them.
Okay.
But no, Essen, I've definitely looked at and gone, that is not, because I mean, Essen, I think I've got the impression it's like one giant shopping trip, and that's almost how we treated
Yeah.
UKG this year, and it
Yeah.
didn't work, and I know that would not work for the kids. Whereas I know that like Aircon is more geared towards just gaming, whereas that is
Yep.
something I would take the kids to. But yeah, something that I know is just going to be a giant shopping trip, I would not make that journey for.
Okay.
If it was closer, if it was like London, I might,
Right.
because it's not too far away from home and we can do other things around it. I suppose,
Sure.
I mean, if I was to do Essen that way, if it was we were to make a big holiday out of it and do other things around Essen, then yes, we would take Essen, we would do Essen, we would do it for part of the day.
Okay.
That would be a blip in our holiday. But
Okay.
just to do Essen, no.
Right. No.
If it was specifically we're going to Essen and that's all we're doing, I wouldn't do it with the kids. If it was we're going to this part of the country and Essen's there,
Sure. No, I get that. I definitely get that. I'm trying to think about how the different conventions compare, right?
I would love to do Essen one year just to see what it's like.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to experience it. But even I can tell that just looking at it, I don't think it's a convention for me in general.
Okay. So it sounds like a smaller convention that is focused almost exclusively on open gaming is more conducive, and you would be more likely to bring your family.
Yeah. I like,
as opposed to a larger convention that's more focused on the industry and shopping.
What I like with UKG, obviously, is there's a balance between that. There is the open gaming, and then there's the shops. There's the stalls that have interactive things on it, like Hachette had the giant spinny wheel this year. There was a game that we played that was like a giant version of it, which was the cat thing. I like that balance. I think that's what I'm hoping that Norwich Gamecom will have. I'm hoping they'll have a nice balance of open gaming and a little bit of shopping. And I think it's across a couple of venues as well. So there'll be a nice little walkthrough. Norwich itself, which will obviously lead to Brad going, I did this there. And
yeah, there we go.
Childhood
That's
history.
fun.
I smoked a cigarette on that corner there.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that's every time we go anywhere near. Which to be fair, I'm probably just as bad, actually, if I took him anywhere near where I grew up, I would say. But yeah,
let me be honest with you. I'm the same way. If I took you down to Baton Rouge, you'd be like, that's the first McDonald's where I got my job. That's the first, I would do all the same things. Absolutely.
That's it. I think with kids, though, it's like you need more than just open gaming, because even sitting down playing board, even the best gamer kids will get bored because they're kids. Their attention span is only so much. So I think it's nice to have other things that they can do, like the giant games, the interactive things, the treasure hunts. They're always a good thing. We've used treasure hunts with a lot of things we've done too, like even just like when you go around shopping centres or garden centres, they will have treasure hunts for kids that weave them through the store so that you can look at this, this, and this while they're looking for Peter Rabbit in the hedges or something. And that's always a good one. I mean, we did one year at UKG where we went around and looked for everything, and it was Yu-Gi-Oh! Beanie was happy to do it, but he hated the prize at the end. He was like, I don't like Yu-Gi-Oh! I was like, well, why did we do this then? But it's something that gets them moving and helps you see, and it helps you as a parent see the haul. So that's a good I recommend that parent grab hold of every treasure map you can find and just be like, oh, have we found this yet? Have we found that yet? And it gets you moving. I mean, obviously for this year we had the badges, the badges that I helped do with the unofficial Insta Buddies badges where I believe you got loads sent to you. And you
I
had one
did.
there. You had the Asmodee one, which was part of the Pin Collective, which got people moving around the hall looking for things, interact.
So, Suzy, it sounds like, based on everything you were describing, that open gaming is not enough. There needs to be something like a specific area for kids and whatnot like that. And that's great because I hadn't thought of it. That was the impression I had from you at first when I was listening to you. I'm like, okay, so open gaming is not just enough. There needs to be more.
It does. There definitely needs to be more. Kids need a lot more diminished. I think it's. I feel that even as an adult, I'd probably find that just boring. I mean, me personally, I mean, there are plenty of people that go to conventions that just want a game and just want to sit in open gaming, and that's fine. For me, I love walking around. I love seeing people in costumes. I love the guys in the big Warhammer outfits. For us, they're always being. I love. There's always Daleks at UKG. Beanie got a right kick out of the fact that he was the one who's like, oh, it's a robot, and it went, hello, and he's like,
and he freaked out.
He freaked, but he loved it, and kids love that. They love. I mean, don't get me wrong, little kids not so much. DJ,
Right.
like when he sees the Warhammer people, he's scared. His eyes are wide. He's like, "What is that? Don't take me to the giant thing." But like they were running around. There was a giant exploding kittens.
Yep.
Game thing. They were running in and out of the flames on that. There was Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. They were going in. There's the giant double games. They love that kind of stuff. They love getting to interact. Right. They love photo opportunities. They love badge hunts, all that kind of stuff. It's always nice to have more stuff to do. It's almost nice to have too much stuff to do and not be able to do it all, and have that and to a certain degree have that FOMO. Because you look because that's the kind of stuff that makes you go back. I think.
Right.
You go, oh, if you saw everything, you're like, well, I've done this. Why would I go back? But if you didn't see it all, you're like, oh, well, maybe next year we can try and catch that. We can try and do this. So yeah, I just think it's nice to have those little gimmicks. For everyone, not just for the kids, but it's nice to have that little gimmick that makes you want to go and look at something and interact with something. And to a certain degree, isn't that how they get us to buy these things?
It's true.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure as many people would have bought certain games if they hadn't been giving out plushies of them, pin badges for them. You get that. Everyone loves a freebie. Everyone loves a freebie.
That is true.
I think some of the best vendors I know, they will work on my kids. They'll be like, oh, do you like this game? Do you think Mummy should buy you this game? And I'm like, really? Because then the kid says, please, and you're like, I can't say no to that face. So you ultimately, I think if you're selling a game, you want to appeal to a kid as well, because obviously they're the ones that are going to beg for it. They're the ones that are going to go, please.
Yep.
Almost as much as we go to our other halves. Please, let me have this game. So yeah, it's you've got to love them.
I'm fortunate enough I don't have to do that with Katie. She's usually coming to me like, well, to be fair, until this year, she would come up to me and be like, so here's this Kickstarter that I'm thinking about backing. What do you think? And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Whereas like we go, there's this Kickstarter I'm thinking about backing, but can we feed the family for another month?
Right.
No, we're pretty good. We don't back a lot of Kickstarters, and when we do, they tend to be for us, not for the kids. The kid games are pretty instantaneous. We'll go out and we'll buy those ones. I mean, I think Beanie's latest one that he's asking for is Dogman, the Attack of the Fleas board game.
Oh yes,
it looks just like a roll and pass, but I'm like, do you know what? If he wants it, why not? So if it's a board game, I mean, it's the only way I play Minecraft with him. I play board game with Minecraft. I don't play the video game.
There you go. Suzy, thank you so much for joining me and talking to me for all this time about bringing families to conventions and gaming situations. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else? You have any final thoughts that you want to share before we close out?
I hope some of it has helped. I hope there's somebody out there that has listened to this and gone, yes, I can take my kids to this, or, oh, okay, I don't have to take my kids to this. I hope that somebody finds the balance that they need out there for conventions. I feel bad if I've waffled and I've gone crazy, then I'm sorry. My kids drive me mental and I love them. And that is parenting. I want them to love the things that I love. But I also want them to have their own interests. And I think it's nice that they get to, like I said, with the Minecraft games, I would never have played those if it hadn't been for Beanie. So it's nice to have that share thing. So I hope that this has been helpful for somebody. And ultimately, yeah, take your kids at least once, even if it's just for a day. Take your kids, enjoy being them there, just to find out whether you can.
Yeah.
And remember the snacks, snacks,
Snacks.
and water.
Yes.
And mark the toilets.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
I can't come up with any better advice. So there it is. Suzy, where can everyone find you on all the socials if they want to reach out to you and ask you more specific questions about bringing kids?
Primarily on Instagram. I'm at Games with Beanie, all one word. Beanie is BEANY. BEANY. Yeah, not IE. There is another Beanie who is IE. You can also find me on Facebook, and I have started delving into the world of TikTok, but don't expect me to be there. I have one. I don't know what I'm doing with it. I'm an old now. But yes, primarily I am on Instagram, and I can be contacted there, and I'm always happy to chat to other parents. We recently, with the Instagram community, I set up a chat group. It doesn't get used very often, but it is the Insta Gamers Parental Support Group for just gaming friends, just so that we can talk about these nonsense things. It doesn't have to be board games. I'm always happy to talk about just kids and life in general. So,
well, there you go. There you go, guys. So, everyone, thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Please leave comments. We're at 75 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Want to get to 100 by October, which is when we'll be a year. So help us with that. Thank you again, everybody. And remember, be kind to one another and keep playing games.